What's crack, guys? In this video I am going to talk you through the patterns that you need in order to build muscle and strength. These are just general gym patterns, and basically a gym program is made up of these patterns and just varieties of these patterns to give you, again, a little bit of variety and make it interesting for you. So if you haven't watched the first video in this series, because this is video number 2, if you haven't watched that first video, I strongly recommend you go back and watch that. I'll leave a link in it, or a link to it here somewhere on the screen. To get into it, the patterns that we're talking about are a squat pattern, a deadlift pattern, a lunge pattern. They're the 3 for the lower limb. Then for upper limb, we're talking about press, so overhead press, a pull-up pattern, a row pattern, and a bench press pattern. So for the lower limb, we've got squat, which is up and down. Now, when I say pattern, I do actually mean pattern. I don't necessarily mean the specific movement, because a lot of people can't squat because they don't have enough range of motion in the ankles, the hips, or the thoracic spine. And that's what we particularly find with people starting here. They'll come in and they have a history, yeah, I've been squatting for 5-10 years, but in actual fact, when we assess their squat, they're really not getting that much out of it because they're so limited with the range of motion. So there are other things you can do rather than doing a barbell back squat or a front squat. You can do a hex bar deadlift, you can do a leg press, and in terms of the patterning, I'm going to refer to those as a squat pattern. A lot of people that start here, we start them off in the hex bar and we spend a bit of time stretching out ankles, hips and thoracic spine, and then over maybe a month or two, then they're able to actually get into a front squat pattern and then progress onto a back squat pattern, because you don't need as much range of motion in the front squat as you do with your back squat. So there's your squat pattern. After that, we're talking about a deadlift pattern or a hip hinge pattern. So this is slightly different to a squat. We want to be able to hinge your hips. It brings in a little bit more posterior chain. You'll think of exercises like RDLs, single leg RDLs, deadlifts. They're all hip hinge patterns. Next one we're getting into is a lunge pattern. Split squats, walking lunges, Bulgarian split squats, all these are lunge patterns, just different varieties of them. We'll move on to the upper body. We'll talk about press patterns, which is overhead press, dumbbell press, half kneeling, single arm kettlebell presses, those kinds of things. We've got pull-up patterns. We have a variety of different pull-ups. We can do lat pull downs, different grip widths, wide, narrow, neutral, supinated, pronated, with our row pattern then, which is out in front. So we can do a dumbbell row, barbell row, seal row, inverted row, loads of different varieties there. We can also do then our bench press patterns, which will be barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press, incline, flat, decline, single arm, all those kinds of things. So essentially your gym program will be made up of all those patterns and organized in a particular way in order to maximize your return for the time you're investing in it. So in order to just maybe touch on how we would organize all those, you got to look at how many times a week you're in the gym. Now this is just gym in particular. This is not in terms of, don't take this and apply this to the week of championship. So within the gym in total or on a weekly basis, you want to get in 2 sessions per week for each body part. That's a very good rule of thumb. So as a bare minimum, we need to know a form of squat pattern. Again, that can be a hex bar deadlift or a leg press. We need to know some kind of a deadlift pattern. And in particular, in this case, I would like that to be an RDL. We need to know how to do a lunge pattern, so a walking lunge or a split squat. We need to know a press pattern, an overhead press, a pull-up pattern, a pull down, lat pull down, narrow grip, wide grip. They're normally easy to pick up. Bench press, dumbbell bench press as an example, and then a row pattern, dumbbell row. So those are the basic movements we need. In a lot of cases, you can get away with literally just knowing those 7 movements and just one variety of those 7 movements, and you can make a very effective program. So I would strongly encourage you, if you don't know those, get to know those, look up some videos. If you really want me to, I can put together some videos for all of those so that we can bring you up to speed. That's all for this video. In the next video, I'm going to be talking you through how to put all those patterns together and make an appropriate split based on how many times per week you're going to get into the gym. See you in the next video. Slán.